You speak of having lost your way as though your way has been misplaced rather than hidden. You speak of others who have lost their way as though they are not in much the same circumstance as you. You seem to fail to recognize that the judgment of those you encounter upon your path is so often a judgment of the whole, so often a judgment of that which you yourself carry within you and of the systems into which all have so easily fallen. For all that you see, for all that you threaten to judge, allow yourself the moment to step back, to look at this differently and to ask what could be an alternate perspective. So often in doing this, you will begin to recognize that judgment is not the answer, that the division you claim to see between them and you is, in fact, a similarity you are unwilling to bear witness to. When you step back from the division, from the place of wisdom, you have perceived to be true. You step instead into a place of alignment, into a place that allows you to see more clearly the breadth of perspective, the breadth of possibility, but also with that, the breadth of suffering that is so prominent across this earth. When will this end? When will the suffering cease? It ceases when those who call this their own domain cease to cast judgment on one another, cease to draw lines between themselves and another, and instead come to recognize the whole. Instead, come to recall the ways in which all was once in alignment, and the alignment was in an easeful flow. A truth that carried each and every one to specifically the point in which they had always been meant to find themselves, to specifically the place which was always destined for them. This topic of destiny, I know, is one that upsets many, for humans especially love the idea that all is a freedom of choice. I do not dismiss this idea. There is certainly a freedom of choice available. And yet, the greatest choices are always those which lead you to your destiny, which enable you to progress onwards from a place of your own soul in all of its glory, embodied, walking, breathing, talking here upon this earth, to progress to a place in which you can be of service to those around you, to the earth in whole, to the whole of the cosmos. The choices you make, they are all opportunities to lead you to a destiny which has your best interests at heart. A destiny which allows you to grow, to thrive, to be. Why would you ever wish to avoid these? Why would you ever long to do anything else. Remember that with each choice you make, you are offered the possibility of liberation or the possibility of further suffering. And while in the moment it may not seem obvious which of those choices leads to which possibility, the answer can always be found within you. The answer can always be found at the heart of your being. Take the choices. Move forward on the paths which lead you to liberation, to alignment, for it is those which will lead you to peace. It is those which will lead you to fulfillment. The path that is of suffering is one that is so often paved with promises, paved with rules, paved with the stories and the examples of others. The path of another, and I cannot say this firmly enough, is not the path of your own. While you and all of the others around you are in so many ways aligned with one another, connected to one another, while your paths were always meant to intersect, to support, to walk alongside one another and to cross one another as you move together in this great grand plan, none of those paths were ever to look the same. And only through embracing the uniqueness of your own path, only from making the choices that represent that uniqueness, that support you to move forwards, ever forwards in the direction of your own glory, will you find your own path to liberation.